Today, we're taking a look back at 2018 to see what we've covered and what I personally learned about my own coloring journey along the way. So stick around. Hello, colorists. Welcome to PencilStash, a weekly show all about coloring. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing to get all the new content, and be sure to hit that like button if you're enjoying my videos. Hello, colorists. We're right in that sweet spot between Christmas and New Year's, so I thought it would be fun to take a look back at 2018 to choose not only my favorite PencilStash videos, but the tips and tricks that I learned along the way. That's right, folks, I'm still learning too. With each page I color and each video I make, I usually learn something new that I can take with me to utilize on future pages. Every page I do, I consider as practice for the next one. So with anything worth practicing, it's also worthwhile to take a look back to truly dissect and take a look at some of the lessons learned by either doing something well or doing something wrong. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I definitely learn more from the things I do wrong than the things that I do right. And I'm limiting this list to the things that I particularly learned in 2018. So no repeats from last year's year-end video. So let's begin our look back at 2018. Number 1, adding texture. So I've dabbled in adding texture a little bit prior to 2018, but I've made it a personal challenge to practice this skill more in 2018. Now, most coloring books offer you a very flat white space to color in, so it's very tempting to place down just very flat color too, but texture can really bring an object to life. So it's something that I wasn't really overconfident with, so I tried to force myself to practice it this year with varying degrees of success. Now, I know I'll never develop a photorealistic texture kind of style. It just really isn't my thing. But I have been very happy with some of the textures that I've been able to achieve over the year, especially on our Rexy T-Rex here. I think she turned out just beautifully. Now, I'm hopeful to continue that challenge to create additional textures in 2019 to hone those skills even further. Number 2, favorite color combos. Now, over the years, I've come to really love utilizing both my 150 set of Prismacolor Premier colored pencils right alongside my 100 set of Crayola's student grade colored pencils, in concert, together, on the same page. Something about the range of colors and the versatility and the color saturation that each one gives me really gives me the range that I like to use to complete my pages. And in those 250 combined pencils, I definitely have my favorite individual colors. Now, these are the ones that are either about an inch long and I'm struggling to still use in the extender or not, or the ones that are super, super long because they're brand new because I just had to replace them. But not only that, I've also developed some favorite color combinations, meaning that I know when I pick up a certain pencil, I instinctually go towards 2 or 3 other colors that I know will complement it because I've used that color combo a bunch of other times. Now, I think my go-to color combos have helped develop what I call my style, since my work tends to have a similar color feel. Now, there's definitely infinite color combinations with your 250 color pencils, but I thought it would be fun to share some of my go-to color combos with you guys to try out for yourself. Number 3, balancing color across the page. Now, this is a fairly recent observation, but I think I've been trying to balance my colors across the page subconsciously since I was a kid. Making sure that you repeat your colors across the page, balancing out your placement, it all really leads to a very visually pleasing finished product, even if it's something that you don't pick up on right away. This technique is even used in interior design and other design where you repeat a color a few times in a room and you spread it out a bit. So avoid concentrating one color in one spot on a page. Use it a few times and spread it out. Number 4, playing with dimension. Now, coloring books are traditionally a very flat medium, either on paper or in a coloring book, so it's up to you to invent new opportunities to bring dimension and life to your work. So we played with that a few times this year. The first being with our 3D dioramas from the Romantic Country coloring books. Now, I'd had these books for months, maybe even years, before I even noticed what these fold-out activity pages were, and I'm so glad that I gave them a closer look. Coloring these and assembling them in the different ways was really fun, and it brought some variety to just plain traditional coloring pages. Now, the other way that we played with dimension this year was those padded mounting squares. I'd had those for a few years and I kind of threw them in a drawer and forgot about them. They're sold with like crafting supplies, paper crafting, scrapbook type stuff, but you can definitely use them in whatever way suits you. Now, I found these exceptionally fun to use with my online subscription to Coloring Book Cafe, since it can print out as many sheets of the same coloring page as I'd like to play around with this technique. I definitely plan on using these again in 2019, and maybe we'll use these on multiple objects on a page, and perhaps even stack them for multi-planes of dimension. Number 5, keeping your mistakes. This year, I opened up my coloring books and shared with all of you my half-completed pages, my mistakes, all the pages that I absolutely hated and never wanted anyone else to see. I showed them to you, which honestly took some courage to do. It's very tempting to take our mistakes, wad them up and throw them in the waste paper basket. But I think that looking back at our mistakes or the things that we'd wished we'd done a little bit better is an opportunity to improve, especially when you see them as a whole. You might notice patterns that can help you improve in the future. Also, I would encourage you guys to be willing to share the pages that you're not happy with. Could be with a friend or a family member or even on social media. The act of sharing your work and leaving yourself vulnerable to feedback is an important step in your coloring journey, especially if you share it with someone who is going to give you good, solid, constructive feedback that allows you to improve. This could be invaluable information. This is why writers have editors. They serve the same purpose. And I really appreciated how kind you guys were with all of my mistakes. Number 6, coloring on various surfaces. Paper is amazing, don't get me wrong, but sometimes it's fun to try something new. And this year I branched out and tried coloring on other materials. First, I was sent a canvas tote bag by the good people at Daisy Pop Station. They have a whole line of canvas products with blank images on them that you can color. You can use any medium that you like, but I'm a colored pencil girl, so that's what I went with, and I was amazed at how much fun it was. The canvas picked up my pigment so much better than I thought that it would, and it really held up well over time. My daughter uses this bag on a daily basis to cart all of her tech gear around, and this bag has been a workhorse. And I think Daisy Pop Station even has some pillows now and some other things, so definitely a fun thing to check out if you haven't. Now, the other thing that I colored on this year was wood. Now, I don't have a PencilStash video on this. It was actually something that I did as part of the master course that I developed for Coloring Book Cafe. So the tutorial is on their website, available to their members, but this was so fun to do. I'd seen another color pencil artist color on wood, and I was blown away. So I decided to give it a go for myself. Now, what I liked best is that my light colors showed up incredibly well. It was like coloring on toned paper. You know, your whites show up just incredibly vibrantly. Plus the texture is super smooth on wood. It's just a treat to color on. So maybe next year I'll do a tutorial on how to do this for you guys right here on the PencilStash channel to try out too. Number 7, color palettes. A few of my most popular videos of 2018 were all around color palettes. Now, the first video was about my process for developing a color palette, the steps that I go through before I even put a single pencil to my paper. The part that you guys really don't get to see, but I thought it would be helpful to share this with you guys so that you could kind of see some of that prep work that I do before I even start. Then the second video was all about utilizing that color palette on the page once you have it. Because it's all well and good to have a tray full of chosen colors, but now what? How do you actually choose amongst them as you go? Now, in the past, I used to be a little haphazard with my color choices, kind of flying by the seat of my pants as I went for the most part, and I still do that from time to time. But now I find it well worth it to spend a few extra minutes to pull some foundational color palette choices and put them into my little white dish before I start. Those are the majority of the colors that I use on my page, and then I pull extra pencils as needed. But I always start with that main color palette in mind when I do. Remember when we talked about lessons learned from past mistakes or the pages I wasn't too happy with? Well, when I went back and looked at my mistakes or my half-finished pages as a whole, I realized that I was kind of unhappy with those because of those haphazard color choices, because I wasn't spending enough time kind of, taking those extra few minutes to develop a color palette. So I made a conscious effort to improve upon that, and my color palette process was born. Number 8, my paint markers. Now, this isn't new, it's no secret. I love adding some embellishments to my colored pencil work with paint markers. They're matte, and even the light colors go right over top of my pencil layers. And now this is where I find the greatest value. They're great for highlights, and I find them especially useful because you can't really add lighter colors over top of your colored pencils. Once you put down a medium tone, you can't add a light color over top of it. So if you didn't account for those areas that you wanted to keep light in the beginning, you're kind of screwed, unless you find a nifty tool like these paint markers. Now, I especially like my metallic paint markers. I started using these kind of fairly recently, especially the gold and the silver, as they add some glitz without adding puffiness to a page like glitter would. And my big revelation this year was snow. Now, the kind of snow that collects and builds up more than just the flakes flying in the air that I used to do. Now, I can't believe I'd never thought of that before. I mean, I'd collected it on tree branches and such, but I never really had that snow interact much with the other objects on the page. And boy, does this make a difference. It was so much fun, and it really made this page special in the end. So those are my biggest takeaways from 2018. All the stuff I learned and honed and developed, not only for myself, but so that I can share it with you guys too. So looking towards 2019, a few things that I'd like to try are maybe some more mediums. I've never been very good with anything but colored pencils, so this year maybe we can try some other stuff like markers, gel pens, maybe even some watercolor. Now, I love watercolor art. It might just be my favorite, so honing those skills is high on my list in 2019. Now, I haven't done it too much with coloring just because the colored pencil paper isn't really conducive to wet mediums. It's not thick enough. It buckles and it doesn't hold up very well. Plus, the heavy watercolor paper won't fit through my home printer, so printing out coloring pages myself is a little bit tough to use with watercolor. So I've been drawing my own artwork directly onto watercolor paper and practicing that way. So anyway, good things to come in 2019, and as always, I'm open to your suggestions too. If there's any techniques or video requests for 2019, please leave them down in the comments below, and I will do my best to accommodate. So Happy New Year, everyone. Thanks so much, as always, for your support in 2018. This channel is growing like wildfire. I'm just about to hit the 20,000 subscriber mark as we pass into the new year, and I'm so excited. Now enjoy your holidays, and I'll see y'all next year. Bye-bye.